Hi, I'm back. Going to give you a little update. Since the last time when I'd made it to Yuma, I was only there a few days, took care of everything I needed to do, dentist in Mexico, putting my trailer up for sale with the park owners. And today is July 28th, and I've been back. I only was there like 4 days, and then I turned around and drove back the 1,950 miles. So, yeah, it was busy, uh, like a little over a week, but got things taken care of. It's getting listed with the managers for the park. Um, so back here at my daughter's. Everything's going good right now with the oh, some days you ever have that when you get old, you're just like, what was I going to think? Yeah. But with my issues, everything is going good. The medication helped it. And so I am back on the compound tirzepitide. And then I did add creatine monoglutate, the one that, and it really seems to be helping, makes me feel good. And then I added liposomal glutathione tablet or capsules. I take 2 of those a day. Supposed to help you with your insides. And I have been feeling better the last few days since I've taken that. Reached a very new low of weight this morning. It's like the weight, I sat so long in the 160s, and now all of a sudden, boom, it went down 159, and then today I was 156.6 this morning. I was like, wait, that can't be right, I moved the scale around and made sure it zeroed out, and then I tried it again. I did it 3 times just because I could not believe that that was the weight. And so then I'm like, okay, every time it was exactly the same. It must be what it is. So 156.6. Never thought I'd see that in my lifetime again. And back when I was like 14, 15 years old, felt humongous because everybody, that was in 1975, 76. All the girls were, excuse me, pencil thin. It was the days, there was only a few of us in my school that were overweight. There was very few, there was a couple that were really huge. Then there were some of us that were very, overweight, but not morbid at the time. But we looked it because all the other girls were, all of them weighed like 100 to 110 pounds, and maybe 120 at the most, the athletic ones that, were working out in gymnastics and, basketball and all that stuff. So, but, that's life and it's going on. And I just wanted to pop in and give you an update on things. I know I had said that maybe we would be talking about like that, see if anybody was interested in what it was like to be 47 years old. I was married 20 years, and it was Memorial Weekend. It was Monday. We spent the day. My husband had went out to his parents, or his father's grave, and had done some stuff. And the kids were working. They both worked at the Dairy Queen in the town that we lived in. And they were teenagers. My daughter was 17, had just finished 11th grade. My son was 16, just finished 10th grade. So they worked. And, he was going to work the next day. So he always went to bed way before. I'm a night owl and I have restless leg and everything. And so I toss and turn, and, I can't. And so it bothers him. So he went to bed like 9 o'clock or something like that. We all said goodnight to him. The kids had got home, and he got there, and then he went to bed. Kids and I were in the living room watching TV, and then we all fell asleep out there. And usually I'd wake up about 2 or 3 o'clock and go to the bathroom and then go get in bed. But that night I didn't wake up until like 5:30, around there in the morning. And so I went to the bathroom, then I crawled in bed, and I snuggled up to him and hugged him like I always do. And he was cold. He didn't move. He didn't talk. There was no... I screamed for the kids, and the phone was beside the bed. I called the 911, and the rescue squad is just like 2 blocks away. Actually, one of the workers was our neighbor. They all were there within minutes, but he had a widowmaker during the night and had been gone for quite a while. He was already... My son was trying to give him CPR, and you could just hear the crunch, yeah, it was hard. But, I had to try to be strong for my kids and put on a brave face and hang in there and you're like, okay, now what do I got to take care of? What do I got to do? How am I going to do this by myself? So, I was 47 years old. He was 58. Apparently the main had like 95% blockage, and so when he had a blood clot go through it, they call it the widowmaker. It's like boom, bam, Harry had beat, a couple of years prior, he had beat prostate cancer. And, we had plans for the future, things to do, the kids were getting so close to being out of school, but I had to put on a brave face. This was 2007, May 29th, and had to go on. I'd lost my mom in 2003, but it was hard. But we knew it was coming. She had anaplastic thyroid carcinoma, the rare one. And she'd survived 5 years when they had only given her maybe 5-6 months when they removed the tumor in her thyroid and everything. But she hung in there and got 5 more years with us. But the month before, my brother-in-law, who I knew longer than I knew my husband, I was 7 years old, not quite 7 years old when he married my sister, because she's a lot older than me, she was young, they got married. He had just turned 55. He was out mowing the lawn. It was like a week after his birthday, something like that. Out mowing the lawn. And my sister had been out there. She went in to check on supper in the oven. And she came back out, and he was dead. He had had a massive heart attack and gone. So, that year of 2003 had been tough. But, to have 2 so fast like that. And then, so now here we are, 2007, and, I'm a widow at 47, nothing that I ever expected to happen. And, we're trugging along. I'm being strong for the kids. And earlier, my dad had a quadruple bypass, something that he'd needed for years, but they'd told him because of his lung capacity and all that they couldn't do it. But that was in the 70s, mid-70s. And he'd had some stents put in, and then finally they did this quadruple bypass, and he was so good. Better than he'd felt in so many years. And he wanted, it was hard on him when my mom passed away, You know, they had been married 50 some years. And so then he wanted to go to, you know, he'd traveled across a lot of states and stuff, different things, but there was something out west in that he worked construction. He ran the asphalt plant. He cooked the asphalt that they put on the roads when, you know, when they do driveways and highways. And he, you know, he had to know how much to put of this, and he ran the rock crushers and stuff. And that's what he did, you know. And when we lived out in Oregon, he could work year round, but when, you know, Minnesota time, you know, and stuff, you have limited time a year. But we also had the farm, that different animals. Some part of the time we'd have beef cows, part of the time then we did have milk cows that I helped with and that my brothers helped with. But he felt better than he had since way back. And he wanted to go see the Grand Canyon. He was in his 80s, you know. He wanted to see the Grand Canyon, and my brother was a trucker, and he was working for the union down by the cities, hauling something out to the sites, you know, where they were doing road construction. And so they'd be getting laid off in the end of October, beginning of November. And so in November, he told my dad, well, once I'm done for the season, then I will take you. And my aunt, who her husband had passed away, my dad's sister, they both wanted to go. And he said, yeah, well, I'll drive you out there. You guys can see that. And then they went on up. They did that. They went in November there, towards the end. And then my aunt's daughter, my cousin, happened to be in Las Vegas or something by the time, doing something there, and so she'd had a free room. So they stayed there and visited with her, and then they went on, saw the Grand Canyon, and then they slowly took their time and they drove up to Oregon. Well, they went to Washington. By the time they got there, my cousin was back home. That's where she lived, in the Tri-Cities in Washington. And they visited with her, and then they went on into Oregon and visited with relatives and friends that, you know, he wanted to visit, and my nephew and everything that lives out there. And then they came back home, and they got home in December. They'd been gone about 3 weeks. He had the best time. He felt so good. And he came to, we had a family Christmas thing on a Saturday night. Let's see, like the 15th of December. And he usually was always the first one there, and then the first one who wanted to go home. Not that night. We all were there, all of us kids, and you know, we do us food and games and everything, you know. And so we had fun, and he was still there. He had a great-granddaughter. He was playing. She was only a few months old. He was holding her, having a great time. I'd taken in a foreign exchange student was living with us. Then the kids had begged me to let her come. She was from Germany. Her name was Sabrina, and she was the sweetest thing. And she was a senior with my daughter. And so, yes, she was there. You know, he loved talking to her, you know, about Germany and everything. And it was just, you know, great. And he was like the last one to leave. And then come Monday morning, my dad and his brother had come over, and my brother, they were sitting there playing cards. And my dad just all of a sudden started staring straight ahead. And my brothers kept going, Daddy, it's your turn to play. And he didn't say nothing, and he didn't say nothing. And they, you know, and then he said, Daddy, and he touched him, and he just like tipped over. They called, you know, got the ambulance, they got him in, and they, you know, he had had a brain aneurysm. And they said, you know, yeah, that it was bad. And if they went in, he you know, and he was ready to go. I was 47, so he'd have been 87 years old. He said, all my friends are gone. And he had put in, he had a do not resuscitate, and he didn't want any extra means, and they just kept the pain, and by 2, 3 in the morning, he had passed away from the brain aneurysm. So at 47, I became a widow, and I said I became a widow and an orphan in that year. That was a rough year, because now I had no parents and no husband, and had to learn to get on by my own. So anybody else have any, what you're surviving, what you've survived, how you've come to live, any of your stories, and any, how the mistakes I've made after that, because, if you're with someone for 20 years and you're used to them helping you and doing things, and all of a sudden they're gone, and then when the kids graduate, and, the fear of being alone. So we'll talk about that another time. Thanks. Have a great day, and thanks for stopping. If you'd subscribe and share and like, that would be awesome. See you again, friends. Bye.